I want to talk about our textbooks, Swordfish and Calligraph, which are Bundle 5 from the Open Latch Education Foundation. So what I want you to do with these textbooks is I want you to work through them at your own pace, but by the end of the course to be able to affirm that you've done a few things. So number one is with Swordfish, I want you to read chapter 1. And I want you to be able to take a quick quiz on chapter 1 to demonstrate some sort of level of the mastery of the concepts. Now, just to be clear, I'm not having you read Swordfish so that you can learn punctuation or how we are currently using sentence elements. So, a while back in my teaching career, way back, I know that, in certain colleges and certain English programs, something like a comma splice or a fragment was, a very major error in your writing. I think in today's professional writing style for the narrative nonfiction, uh, these things can be used and have been used with much more regularity, sort of a stylistic element in the writing. So no one is as upset anymore with a more regular use of, say, the comma splice. Now, the comma splice is an error that occurs when you join two independent clauses with only a comma. So you kind of splice them together as you would splice two pieces of rope, but you use only a comma. And traditionally, that was, quote unquote, not allowed. So those sorts of rules are springing out of a culture's taste or response, to certain norms set by a few influential writers and editors and publishers. They change over time. But what doesn't change is the basic elements of English grammar. So whether you were looking at, you know, texts written 100, 200, 300 years ago in English, or Spanish or whatever language, versus those written now, both of those, all of those are going to have subjects, verbs, direct objects, indirect objects, prepositions, objects of prepositions, clauses, things like that. So I feel like Swordfish is beneficial for you as a writer to help you begin a journey you may want to take concerning learning how to recognize the core sentence elements. Now, again, a pretty decent part of Swordfish is also talking about standard rules, but those were standard when Kate Freeland wrote that book way back when. Those rules are changing now, okay? But what hasn't changed, and what Swordfish is beneficial for us, is those sentence elements. So I feel like as a writer, sometimes some of you can really produce good work just based on how it sounds to you, how it feels to you, and you actually are just responding to sort of a sense you have as to what good writing should look like, but you don't know the technical aspect of it. And while I would always want to have that sense, if it were a true either or situation and not both, I would take that sense over the technical thing every time. But I feel like you could probably have both, and you would be a better writer for it. So if you learn a little bit about the technical side of the sentence, of the English sentence, it can't hurt you. So I want you to do chapter 1. It starts off quite simple, but that simple start masks a rapid growing complexity. So it talks about finding a basic verb, and you might think, well, that's easy, but it's not so easy as you might think. So I want you to start with the very first page of instruction in Swordfish and read chapter 1, and then take a short quiz that I'll prepare for you. Now, as far as Calligraph goes, what I would like you to do is I would like you to read, why don't we read 3 stories in Calligraph, and then I would like you to try to get a sense of how those stories operate. What kind of characters do they introduce? What sort of setting do they have? What was the rising action? What was the problem? What was the resolution? And see also perhaps what are some common themes to these stories. And then what I would like you to do is write a short paragraph explaining what your story would be about if you were to write a story like this. So please understand, I'm not asking for the full story. I'm just asking for a paragraph that explains what you would write if you were to write that story. Now I say I'm asking for it, but actually, you're going to submit it to me or maybe take an affirmation quiz. You're going to get a few points on that. But I really want you to submit this to Open Latch Education Foundation because some of you might have some sort of talent, that those editors might feel they can maybe help develop. So if they like your paragraph proposal, they'll get in touch with you and say, hey, would you be interested in developing the story? So because you bought these books from Open Latch, and because basically, from my understanding, there are a group of editors over there working through this, trying to find poets and short story writers among the young college age group, they may or may not respond to you, but I think they would be interested in having you submit your proposal to them, right? So you would need to use the email address that came in those documents in in bundle 5. There were some loose leaf documents, and there was one other called TNT, which you can use an editor from Open Latch to discuss some of your research ideas with. I think that's explained there in that document. But you also have a master code. That one code is good for all the material you bought. For example, if you want the rest of Swordfish, which I believe would come to you as a PDF, chapters 3 onward, because you just want to learn this, you can request that PDF and they'll send it to you free of charge because basically you bought the PDF already. So, you have Swordfish, Calligraph, and those free-floating documents. And this quick video was just meant to tell you how to work on that. So by the time the course ends, you need to have read chapter 1 in Swordfish, taken the quiz that I will design for you. I'll upload it to our class website on our learning management system, our class site, and then you'll need to read 3 stories in Calligraph, try to find common elements, try to get the feel what these stories look like, and then write a paragraph proposal. Send it to me through the assignment link I'll have on our courses site, and then you need to also send it to Open Latch using that email that they provide, which I believe is olefservice@gmail.com. OLEF service@gmail.com. Okay, thanks for listening.